A little bit about putting Uganda in context. We really had a lot of political and civil wars the first 25 years post-independence. Then the HIV pandemic, that was really, it hit the country so hard that I think in the 80s and 90s it was about 30%. It's come down to about 6.6 right now. And a lot of poverty, and we are one of the youngest nations in the world. 50% of the population is below the age of 50.
Oh my goodness.
That's about 20 million people. Because of the conflict around us, from South Sudan, from Ethiopia, from Eritrea, from Burundi, we have a lot of refugees in the country, like over 40,000 refugees in Uganda, because of all that is happening. And a lot of the wars are still continuing. Before I was born, there was war in South Sudan. Up to now, it's still going on. Burundi, there's a lot of stuff that is going on. Congo, there's been war in and out for the last 30 years. And so they find Uganda to be the safe haven, so you have a really huge population of refugees. History of counseling. Traditionally, guidance or advice was from the elders and parents. If you have a problem, you go and speak to your mom or speak to your dad. And then faith communities, you go speak to a pastor or speak to the imam in the mosque. So it was really informal. People didn't have to be trained to be counselors. And then in the 90s, because of the HIV/AIDS, there had to be a way to provide counseling because of all that was going on, either through laws or before testing. People needed to be counseled, so that kind of led to the beginning of some kind of formal training in counseling. And then a lot of funding came in to just train either clinicians or teachers about HIV/AIDS. I'm sorry, like I said earlier, due to the HIV epidemic, there's a lot of promoting of counseling. So before you're tested, to see whether you have the virus or not, you have to be counseled. And whether your result is negative or positive, they'll still talk to you. And then in 2002, we had the Uganda Counseling Association being established. So as you can see, professional counseling is very, very young in the country. Because back then, anybody would go for a training for a week and then they say they are counselors. So there was nothing to really show what is really counseling. Is it just advice giving? Is it just telling people what to do? So that's why counselors came together and then formed the association. And then they did develop a code of ethics that can be used, and that is still being used. Training, right now we only have 5 universities that offer a master's in counseling. So the science courses are more popular at home, and even the government is, promoting more of science and technology and less of any things like humanitarian side. Then a lot of it is really general counseling. You don't have like different tracks. So you're told to, prepare to work with children or to work with families. Everything is so general. Only have 3 professors that have a PhD in counseling back home. People will go for a PhD in clinical psychology or in psychiatry, but not in counseling. And a lot of our counseling programs is almost integrated with psychology. So people don't know what's the difference. But like, are you a psychologist? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a counselor. What is the difference? Mm-hmm. So all the time I have to explain myself and what I do. And even the Ministry of Education is not really monitoring how the courses are being taught. Because if you find a counselor from the state university and one from the private, there's such a big difference. Because they're not really monitoring how are these people teaching. And we don't have a licensing board for counselors. UCA did put in the bill is in Parliament. It's now 7 years. Nothing has been done because they're not seeing this as important. And for me as a counselor, I'm like, that is not right. What kind of service are we giving people? Anybody can stand up and say, I'm a therapist, but they do not have the training for this. So that's like really unethical, but it's very sad that the government is not seeing that as important. Why is counseling still important in Uganda? Like I already said, even though the HIV has really come down, but we still have lots of children who are HIV positive. We have a lot of families that have been affected, so there is need for professional help. And then trauma, we had the northern part of the country went through war for 20 years, where children as young as 7 were abducted and became child soldiers. And now they are back into the community. It's a lot of trauma that is going on with these kids, and there is need for help. They help adults more than children. And for me, really, my heart is out to these kids. If you went to war when you're 8 and you're back as a 14-year-old, many of the girls came back with children, not knowing who the father of these kids are. And so I can't give talk therapy to a 14-year-old who's traumatized. They just need to find things like play therapy and activity therapy to help them explore their trauma. There's also increased urban population. Like I said before, you could go to your mom and talk to your mom. But if your mom lives 6 hours away and you're having a problem at home, you can't go back to your mom. You need to find somebody to help. So if you're having professional counselors to help families deal with all that they're going through. Domestic violence and family disruptions is high at home, and the refugee population as well. So all of these shows why we still need professional counseling in Uganda. Oops, sorry. What are my hopes? What are my dreams for the counseling profession? I'm really still hoping that they will have a licensing board, that the parliament will find it important to pass this bill. And I'm hoping there will be integration of more specialized training in our counseling program, so they can prepare people to work with children or to work with schools or to work with professing trauma. Increased monitoring of standards by the government. There's no PhD program for counseling right now at home. They only offer master's programs, and it's really expensive to come here, and just being away from home for 4 and 5 years is a lot. But if this was offered near home, we'll have more people accessing this. Increased research to inform training and practice. Other fields are having research like education and social work and psychiatry, but in counseling, not having a lot of research coming out. So I'm hoping that I'm able to do that, but also to really help other people get interested in doing research. And increase funding for counseling services. For example, whether USAID or UNAIDS, they will fund projects home, but they will not fund mental health. They will fund all of the medical needs of populations, but not their mental health. And I'm really hoping that I'm able to advocate for that. And I'm hoping that my dissertation will be using play therapy with HIV positive children to show that as a viable intervention, and hoping that all the HIV care centers can use play therapy as they work with children. That's it. Thank you.